Alright, let's get straight into blocking out the lower body. Now, as always, I'm going to flip over to my character reference here. And so we already have the belly in. So let's look at the hips now. So the hips, the widest point on the hips is at that 4th head mark. And the crotch drops about a third of the way down. So let's modify a smoothed cube, because that's just what we do. Okay, we'll bring that up, get that into position, smooth that, and once more, let's just increase the size of that to say, what does it look like at 1.5? Probably a bit tall, frankly. It's certainly too wide on the outside. So let's just bring that back down. And we'll just increase the size of that. Now, where are those hips in relation to the second head? So it looks like they reach to about a third of the way from the edge of the second head. So probably about there. And I will bring the top of that up to where it meets the belly. And let's just go slightly wider there, in our crotch area. Comes in a bit more narrow and comes up. Now, her hips are again as wide as the head on the side, so let's just make sure that we're working with some similar proportions there. And I'm just going to tip that forward where the upper torso is tipped back. Our hips are actually tipped forwards. So we've got a bit of an opposing arch happening there. Okay, so our wrists, as you can see, so our wrists happen at, if you can imagine, the bulk of the wrist joint happens at about that 3rd mark. So just below the 4th head line, a third of the way down to the next head line, to where about the crotch is sitting right now. So now let's create a new sphere. Well, our little cube sphere. Now, if you remember the shoulders on this character, we had set those to 0.75, and we'd set the elbows to 0.5. So let's see what it looks like if the wrists are set to 0.25. Whew, that's just a little bit too small. So let's try 0.4. Just want them slightly smaller than the elbows, but not too small. Okay, that's pretty good. And those are meant to be at about that crotch point. So the widest point of the hips there. And I can bring that shoulder piece down right away, actually. I just want to, I'm going to be using my center pivot tool a lot, so I might as well actually just drop that onto my custom shelf here. And let's duplicate that. And we're going to rotate it so that we capture that slight rotation from elbow to wrist. Now remember, I'm really going to sound like a broken record here, but remember that we are constantly trying to make sure that there's a bend in our elbows and our knees so that this character will actually move. So it's arms and legs will actually bend the way they're meant to bend when we apply IK solvers to it. So I'm just trying to match the width of that elbow a little bit. And let's match the width of this wrist a bit as well. Okay. And we can do our little trick where we set the pivot points to our belly button, and we pop back over to our modeling toolkit. And if we make sure that everything here has had frozen transforms, so again, I might as well add it to my shelf here. So hold down Control, hold down Shift, and go Freeze Transformations, just to add it to my shelf. And then I will go back to my modeling toolkit shelf, and I'll go Duplicate Special, and there they show up on the other side as well. And now you can start to see that it's becoming easier and easier to see where the objects that make up my character need to be in space in relation to each other for it to feel a little bit more proportional. And at this point my character is feeling just a bit gender neutral, with which I'm granted is not something that ever really bothers me that much, gender neutrality, but this is a female character, so let's just take a quick moment to increase those hips a bit. And it will again increase once we bring in the actual thigh bones. And we can possibly actually decrease the torso slightly, which would be the exact opposite for a heroic male character, whereas you would have a larger torso and more narrow hips. Okay, let's bring in the tops of the thighs and then the thighs themselves. As always, cube smooth. And let's just find out real quick, where do those sit? Okay, so again they sit at that fourth head point. And let's create this buttocks mass so as to give ourselves an idea of the width of our thighs. So just bring that back there. And so make sure I'm not going out of bounds for exactly how wide our thighs are supposed to be. Let's see. Make it slightly wider here in side view, but not by much. So we're talking about 1.101. That's nothing. Okay. It's so small you might as well not even have it. Let's just leave that at its full scale. And we'll bring in, we'll figure out where our knee needs to be now. Okay, so that knee looks like the base, so the base of the knee is at the top of this second head point. And the shape of that knee looks pretty close to the shape of the shoulder. It looks like the shoulder might be slightly larger, but let's just see if we can get away with having something that is the same size as the shoulder, which is 0.75. Let's just see what that looks like. It's a bit too big. And I say that based on the width of the hips here and the size of the knee there. So let's try 0.6. Just see what that looks like. Probably a bit too small. 0.7. Really, folks, this is experimentation all the way. Okay, I like that. Bring that forward because I want to have a bit of a bend in the legs. And Let's create a cylinder for ourselves. Just to give ourselves some visual reference as to the shape of things we are creating. And I want to try and match the width of the thighs up here. And the width of the knees as well. So let's bring that in, and I'll bring it forward. And I might just tilt that slightly more. I keep getting Alt-Tab and Control-A slightly confused there. Let's just go a full-on 1.1. Just go all the way there. Okay, I've got my thigh, I've got my knee. This could probably even stand to just tilt slightly in that direction. Let's bring all that out a bit. Okay, so let's get the ankles happening then. So the ankles are about what, a third of the way from the base of that first head. I was trying to get that knee closer to the bottom edge of this head cube. Okay. Let's drop that down. Bring that in. And so if that was 0.7, how does it look as 0.5? Looks pretty good. And I'll move that ankle backwards so as to again simulate the bend in the knee. Let's bring it up to that third mark. Create our next cylinder shape, quite a bit smaller than the one above it. Once more, always trying to match the width of the sphere on the top with the width of the sphere on the bottom. I think we could possibly go as low as 0.4 on this ankle and have it look roughly ankle size. Alright, so I've got my bend, I have my cylinders, the leg is pretty much all there. Let's duplicate that across to see what it looks like. So I shall select all of these. Oh, that ankle looks out of place. And I shall freeze my transformations. And let's send our pivot point up to the belly button. And once more, duplicate special. Okay, so I have this character now with hips where they should be, knees where they should be, ankles where they should be. She's somewhat stocky, just like my character reference. So I get a sense of the space that she fills out. Last thing I want to do are hands and feet. Okay, let's wrap this video up here.